Ronak, tell me, friction is a necessary evil or not?
Yes, sir, it is.
Why you say so?
Sir, necessary because it has some advantageous points like it helps when it helps sir, to prevent slipping, and it is called evil because it has some disadvantageous points like wear and tear and loss of energy.
Very good. So today we are going to learn about friction part 3. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now first, today we are going to learn about how to increase the friction and how to decrease the friction. Okay. How to increase the friction and how to decrease the friction. And generally tell me, friction is an opposing force or it is a supporting force?
The opposing force.
Opposing force. Can anybody define what is a frictional force? Frictional force.
Sir, may I?
Kavya, Kirtana, Ishan, anyone can answer. Ronak, I will give you a chance later, but let others give chance today. Okay.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Right. Kavya?
Yes, sir. Could you repeat the
Tell me.
question? I couldn't hear you.
What do you mean by frictional force?
Frictional force is an opposing force to the object caused by irregularities in the surface of the object and the surface on which it is moving.
Okay, very good. Tell me, frictional force generally arises when an object is moving on other surface or only by itself it will develop?
Only if it's moving on another surface, because there are no irregularities for it to crash against, or there's no force or any irregularities which is going to make or is going to have a force to oppose it if it's not on another surface.
Right. Can anyone give answer? Others also? Alex? Kirtana? Few more members who are there. Can you give answer? Varnika, Veda? Ronak?
Yes, sir.
Tell me now.
Yes, sir. So friction is a force acting between two surfaces in contact, opposing relative motion or tendency of relative motion between.
Okay, very good. So it will be opposing force, and it develops when an object is moving on the other surface. And maybe you learnt why frictional force arise actually. Why frictional force will arise generally? Due to what it will arise?
Irregularities on the surface.
Sir, because of the irregularities between
Very
the two
good.
surfaces.
Right. Naisha, tell me why frictional force will develop generally?
Due to irregularities on the surface.
Very good. Due to irregularities, isn't it? And suppose to increase the friction, what you have to do?
Sir, increase the irregularities between the surfaces.
Very good. So we have to increase the irregularities between the surfaces. Then what happens? Then what happens? Definitely.
The friction will increase.
Friction will increase. Very good. So to increase the friction, definitely we have to increase the roughness or whatever irregularities are there, those irregularities you have to increase the friction. Okay. So that's why to increase the friction, see there some methods are there. In what way we can increase the friction? And maybe you know that suppose on one day rain came and some meeting is going on, and to avoid the slippery, generally what we do there, we pour some sand. Do you know? Have you observed it? Anyone? Have you observed it or not? Whether you are listening?
Could you repeat that one?
Suppose on one day, what happened is rain came and some meeting is going on. Okay. And when meeting is going on, to avoid the slipperiness, what we do generally? We pour sand there. Why we pour sand? Because to increase the friction. That means whatever smooth surface is there, to increase that roughness, we pour sand. So if you increase the roughness generally, what happens? Friction will increase. So that's why there are different methods. So you observe there. Let us learn one by one, and you can understand how we can increase the friction. So grooves are made in the soles of the shoe to increase the friction and prevent slipping. Maybe you know that for shoes, down of that particular shoes, some grooving. Grooving means some type of a what?
So holes and
Holes
pits.
will be there. Holes will be there. Like for tires will be there, no? So like that for shoes also it will be there on this particular diagram. It is there. So like this. So grooving will be there. And when grooving is there, here roughness will increase or roughness will be decreased here.
The
Ronak,
roughness will increase.
why increase? Because some holes are there, some gaps are there. In that gaps, what happens is whatever the surface on which you are moving, the surface will interlock. Somewhat interlocking will be there. And when interlocking is there, definitely what happens? The friction will increase. So to increase the friction only, what will be there for a shoe? Grooving will be there. And similarly, tires also. So for tires, generally what will be, what we call them? Treads. So like this gaps, whatever are there. Some design also will be there for a tires. And that is for what? To increase the friction again. And maybe you know that if you see some of the vehicles which are having some tires, and those tires, if these treads are not there on that, and if that particular vehicle is moving, and if you break it, definitely what happens is it will slip and fall. Why you will fall? Because if these kind of a treads are not there, holes are not there for the tire, then what happens is interlocking will not be there. When interlocking is not there, friction will be very less, and when friction is very less, definitely what happens? Slippery will be there. The tire will be slipped from that particular surface, and thereby you may fall. So this is the reason. So tires also will have what? Treads like this. So treads are to increase the friction. And maybe you know that suppose if wet roads are there, when wet roads are there, that means that particular surface will become slippery. And to avoid that slipperiness, definitely it must have treads. If treads are not there, what happens is it will slip and fall. Is it true or not?
Yes, sir.
Right. So next one. Spikes are provided in the shoes of players and athletes to increase the friction and prevent slipping. Spikes means like this will be there. Like this type of a nails will be there. Have you seen this type of a spikes for sports shoe?
Yes, sir.
Kavya, have you seen?
I have.
Okay. So for a sports shoe, definitely this type of spikes will be there, and these spikes also will be used for what? Increase the friction, and when increasing the friction, what will be prevented? Slipping will be prevented. Slippering will be prevented. And next, gymnast will apply some coarse substance on their hands to increase the friction for better grip. Have you seen about a few games like what we call them as
So kabaddi.
kabaddi also? In kabaddi also, we will take some what
So
some type of
sand.
a
So some type of sand.
some type of a sand or some type of powder material also we take, and we will rub to our hands. What for that? To increase the friction. And when increasing the friction, what you can do? You can stop him easily. In kabaddi also, if you want to stop any person, what must not be there? Slippery thing must not be there. And if he slips from your hand, definitely you may lose some score also. So to avoid that type of a friction, that means to increase the friction, what we do? We use some kind of a powder, and that powder gymnast will be called coarse actually. So here coarse is there. Coarse means some powder material, and this powder material will be used to increase the friction and for a better grip also. And see here, one more also there. Machine belts are made up of special materials to increase the friction and to drive machine wheels properly. So here, so this kind of a wheel belt will be there. Have you seen? Wheel belt will be there like this. Ronak,
Yes,
Kavya,
sir.
have you seen them? This type of a belts?
Yes, I
Yes,
have.
sir.
Right. So these belts, what will they will be used for? They will be used for increasing the friction. Actually, they will be made with a special materials only, which will have more friction. So that type of material will be used, and all these methods are what actually methods for increasing the friction.